Welcome back to Advancing with Amy, mental health warrior and Neurospicy mama. I'm Amy, and today we're talking about dreams. All right, today we're here with Sheila Balgobin, also known as the Dream Decipherer, who helps clients to crack the code of their sleep and dreams so they can create their best lives. For over 25 years, Sheila has helped clients around the world to decipher the code of their sleepless minds and wild dreams in order to make the best decisions for their lives and businesses. Sheila is a fifth-generation dreamer, gifted with the ability to understand the meaning of dreams. Her signature 6-week course, Dream Your Life, Live Your Dream, teaches people how to work with their dreams to create their best lives. Sheila is a natural intuitive and combines her gift with holistic therapies and psychotherapy to provide holistic support for her clients. All right, Sheila, that's a lot, and I love the Dream Decipherer. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, as you said in the intro, I'm a fifth-generation dreamer, and what that means is that the women in my family have worked with dreams in some way to help other people, and my particular take on that is to be able to understand the meaning behind dream and to help people to be able to reflect on their dreams and pull out what I call the gold in the gobbledygook of their dreams. Research is finding, particularly neuroscience research is finding that the brain is actually quite busy when we're dreaming. Different parts of the brain they've been able to illuminate while people are dreaming. And it's a total experience that you might say, where our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our fears even, all come together along with the sifting of memories and consolidating of memories that goes on in the brain during our sleep. So all of this information that the brain has been picking up, the unconscious mind has been picking up all day long, from the birds singing outside to neighbors arguing upstairs to that thing you have to do for your boss or whatever it all is. And at night, it sorts through it and does garbage detail. It gets rid of the plaque from your brain, which is very important, and also consolidates memories. And that activity is related to our dreaming. That sorting process, that understanding process happens to be part of what dreaming is about. But I like to think of it as not just as neuroscientists think that it's just the brain firing and dreams are a product of those firings going on in the brain, but that it's about our emotions as well. Because to me, dreams are a call to action, whether just to gain a new understanding of something or to make a decision to take some kind of action. To give you an example of what I mean, from one of my own dreams, I had a series of dreams that scared, and the short of the story is those that this set of dreams actually saved my life, literally, from 9/11. He was a stockbroker, and I used to walk through the towers every single day. But these dreams, which, like I said, frightened the life out of me, especially since I couldn't understand what they meant, made me make a decision to return to the UK where I had been living and rejoining my husband there. And that's when the dreams stopped. They just stopped abruptly. Just as suddenly as they appeared, they stopped. And so in 2000, this was in 2000, and when in 2001, I was already back in London and coming back from lunch for work, and people are running around and screaming and crying, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" And all I could get out of people was like tower, planes, hit, and my mind just went blank, completely blank. But that's exactly when I knew what those dreams were telling me, and that had been night after night after night till I'd wake up exhausted with these horrible images. But I kept dreaming about shipwrecks. And as a person who works with dreams, I understand that the dreams work as in terms of metaphor, as if. So I'm thinking about these dreams as, well, I'm not going on a cruise. Why am I dreaming about shipwrecks? I don't know anybody going on I mean, that was trying to make sense of it all. What I discovered was afterwards, when I realized what the dreams were telling me, was that there was a code. And this is why I talk about cracking your dream code. The code was the shipwreck. The shipwreck in the early days of aviation, those dirigibles, those blimps, they were called airships. So shipwrecks, airships, and it didn't dawn on me. It actually didn't dawn on me until it actually happened, but it was like it clicked in my head, and it was like, "Oh my god, that's what it was." And if I had not made the decision to return to London, I could very well have been walking through those towers during that time. So, I believe in the power of dreams.
Oh, I do too. I think it's kind of silly for us to think that all of a sudden our computers in our head just suddenly stop because we go to sleep.
No, and
Oh,
it doesn't. You're absolutely right. The brain is working 24/7. Like I said, during when we're not distracted with the tables and chairs, as I call it, of our day, the brain is doing some very important work. One of which is memory consolidation. The other thing, like I said, clearing plaque, which can lead to things like Alzheimer's and dementia from the brain. It's doing various things. And if our sleep patterns are disturbed, and our dream patterns, which neuroscience is finding out is not just an adjunct to sleep, but an entity, if you will, in and of itself, that needs to be studied and understood better. So if any of those patterns, that sleep cycle or that cycle is disturbed in any way, it can actually lead to not only physiological problems, but psychological problems as well. And just as a note, I throw out there for if there's any men listening to this, just one night of sleep deprivation lowers their testosterone level
wow.
significantly.
That is
So,
interesting.
yeah, I mean, so and that's just one night of sleep deprivation. So imagine if you're in this loop, have gotten in this loop of poor sleep or disturbance by nightmares night after night after night. I mean, and the statistics show that here in the US and in the UK and other places as well, people are there are high levels, like 50% or more people, adults saying that they're sleep deprived. So and that cascades into all kinds of issues. I know for me, when I was doing drug and alcohol counseling, the people that I worked with, if they were still drinking and taking drugs and what have you, they wouldn't dream. And that makes sense. They're repressing memory. So they don't want
Uh,
to think about things. So they're self-medicating in a sense to be able to repress those memories, those feelings, thoughts, what have you. But once they stop, the dreaming becomes constant to the point where they're even dreaming while they're awake, which is why they look like they're psychotic because the unconscious content is flooding up and to such an extent that even while they're awake, they're having these episodes of memories and things coming up. So they're having conversations with whoever it is that they're angry with or hurt by,
right.
and to us, it just looked like they've just lost it. But they're in that real space at that time because when we're in the dream state, it is as real as when we're awake. The
Wow.
the unconscious mind doesn't differentiate like this. Now I must leave, and I'm having this experience. It's real. You're there. So, it's really important for people to have a complete sleep cycle, which includes dreams, but dreams in and of themselves have a real importance in terms of our health, both psychological and physical.
So does every dream mean something, or some of them are, like you said, clearing plaque and
I mean, there are different dreams that we may have. I've identified over the years about 5 different types of dreams, general categories of dreams. Sometimes it's just what I call a smokestacks dream where, you're burning off the remains of the day. Somebody cuts you off on the way to work. Your teenagers are driving you completely mad. You've had a fight with your spouse or your boss is like getting on your back about finishing a project. So it's, and those things. I mean, I remember when I was a stockbroker dreaming about answering the phone at work, and it was like, "Oh my god, I need a vacation." Badly. So, I mean, that's what I mean, those kinds of it's burning off those kind of minor stresses that we may experience during the day and don't really, work out of our system and burn that stress off, so it kind of lingers. So that's
Right.
one thing that the brain may be doing, but there could be creativity dream. Several things were created because of dreams, like Google, number 1. Einstein's famous equation, E equals MC squared, the novel Frankenstein, the song Yesterday by the Beatles, all kinds of things were invented on the back of dreams. So, as a business owner, what are you missing out on by not listening to that great idea that may pop up in your dreams?
Right. What do you suggest people do to hold on to that?
Well, statistically, it's a fact that up to 95% of a dream is forgotten in the first 5 minutes of waking up.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yes, and you think about it, it's like, oh, I had that dream, but I can't remember. I remember what it was about. What lingers is the feeling. If it made you feel apprehensive, if it made you feel happy, if whatever it may be,
Mhm.
whatever the emotion is, and that's what dreams are. It's highlighting particular emotions that we may be either repressing or even unaware of. Um, so that it's listening to our dreams can clue us in as to what's really going on behind the scenes. I mean, we think that everything is, lovely and all good to go, but our dreams are telling us something else. Um, they may be, there's something that we're worrying about and pretending we're not worrying about it, or we say we're not worrying about it, but your unconscious mind is telling a different story. It's
Okay.
like these are just little kites that are floated up from the unconscious mind, which remember, like as I said earlier, clock everything that's going on around in the environment and within us. The unconscious knows all about us. The analogy is that the unconscious is this vast ocean, and our conscious part, the part of us that says I, just this little cork bobbing on that ocean. So the ocean knows all about what we need and what's going on with us, where the part of us that says I can only focus on one, really, forget multitasking, because we're really not giving our full attention to any one thing, and our attention is divided. But um, the the conscious mind can only take in a narrow band of information at any given time. Whereas the unconscious is not bound by time or space and can hold all of that. And then,
Wow.
it sifts through it, and then it's like, "Okay, this is important for you, so I'm floating this kite up and this like, hey, pay attention. This could be important for you." And that, to me, in a nutshell, is why dreams can be, so powerful. Um, what I call there's a type of dream that I call big medicine dream. And those are the kinds of dreams that even years later, you will remember with clarity, because they're so powerful and life have the potential to change our lives, that the message is just delivered with such strength and clarity that you just even if you forget bits, the essential part of the message remains always.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have one of those.
yeah,
Yeah.
people when they start recording their dreams, what happens is you start to see patterns. And, if you're dreaming about a certain type of circumstance, a certain person, these repetitive dreams or dreams, you start to see over time a pattern and shifts and changes. I mean, I've been keeping diaries for since I was a kid, really. I don't have them all, but I have a lot of them. And I look back from time to time to see the progression in my life. Like where I was, 5 years ago is definitely not where I am now, in lots of respects. So it's a good way to check in with yourself, if you will,
Mhm.
and see, well. when I was thinking this 5 years ago, is that still important? And that's a good test of whether something's worth hanging on to. It's like, is this really going to matter in 5 years? If not,
Right.
throw it out.
Right.
Get rid of it.
I was looking on your website and one of the things that caught my eye was that it said something about not listening to or taking in the dream books.
Oh, yes. I mean, dream books have limited uses, and the reason why is like they're so generic, they're so general.
Oh,
Is a dream book going to take into account that maybe you had a fight with your partner or your spouse, your boss is giving you grief about something, your dog died the other day, and it's been with you since you were a kid. I mean, dream books don't take into all of those things into account. Dreams
right.
are from us and about us. And therefore, something that somebody wrote, on the other side of the planet that says, oh, this means that and that means the other is just silly because these symbols and images that come up in a dream are born of us, and what is it's meaningful to us. So, for example, a black cat in your dream is not necessarily what a black cat is going to mean in my dream. The only thing is that
Yeah,
in common, it's the same creature, but what it represents for you is not what's necessarily what it's going to represent for me.
that makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, dream books have a limited ability they can help in a more general sense to maybe kind of stimulate ideas. And in that sense, they could be useful. But in the end, who interprets a dream? And I call myself a dream decipherer. But in the end, what I do is facilitate people learning how to decipher their own dreams because it's not my dream. It's not meaningful. Well, I mean, in the broader
Right.
sense, it's not meaningful for me to know what that dream means. It's meaningful for the person who dreamt it.
Right.
And so what's dreaming about being underwater may be different for even some people. It may be a pre-birth memory. Who knows? For someone else, it could be the feeling of being overwhelmed. I'm drowning in this
Mm,
stuff, and that's equally valid. But
right.
it's individual.
Well, that makes sense too. I'm curious, you were talking about being a fifth generation dreamer, and I love the whole idea of your grandma and everybody teaching you that. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I don't think it was something really that was taught. It was just something that kind of innate and there. Um, I mean, what from the only person that I really kind of talked about this to was my late sister. I was the youngest of three children, so the baby. It's like I got gray hair now, but it's just like I was the baby of the family. But my sister, I mean, who was 13 years older than I, would come to me to ask me about what things meant in a dream or what possible meanings a dream could have. So that was my take on it. Hers was, when people were in trouble, particularly financial trouble, she would dream and be able to help them find solutions, win money. I mean, it was just, that was her gift, her take
Right.
on it. With my grandmother, it was healing. So, and having this kind of presentiment when people were ill and needed help. So we each, had our own take on how we worked with dreams. And me, like I said, I'm like a kind of modern day Joseph with a tech, and I do have a Technicolor dream code as it happens. But that is my take on it, is that I'm able to understand and tease out the meaning of, or to help people to tease out the meaning of a dream. Because again, it's like I facilitate. I'm not telling them what their dream means. I'm suggesting possible meanings and let
Right.
them have that aha moment like, oh yeah, that's what that's about. And it's always wonderful to, when they kind of like the light bulb goes on over their heads and they get it. It's just like, oh
And
yeah, all right. Yeah, now I get it. So And it's exactly that, that it has to resonate with them.
Right.
It has to something in them kind of like responds to it and reacts to it when they hit upon the right understanding. And, our unconscious mind will help us with that. The more we work with our dreams, the more it will give us clues and things to help us to understand the meaning. Which is why we have repetitive dreams. I think it's like, oh, okay, you didn't get it the first time. All right, I'm gonna send it again, and I'll send it again, and I'll send it again, and I will keep sending it, until you get it. Now, what can happen is if you get it right away, the dreams just stop, like what happened with my dreams about, making a decision to return to the UK. Now, if you've partially gotten it right, you've understood part of it, but not all of it, what happens is the unconscious will send it again, but it changes something.
Ah.
Changes detail as it's like, okay, you got some of it, but you didn't quite get it. So I'm going to send it again, but I'm going to change it slightly so that, you can get the next bit. Um, so, the unconscious mind will help us as much as it can to kind of go get in the flow of
Mhm.
things and understand what's going on.
That's fascinating. And do you find that children are more receptive to that?
Yeah, I mean, in the sense that they don't haven't developed the ideas of dreams being something shameful or crazy, or the result of cheap wine and late nights or too much cheese at night. I mean, all kinds of things. But so that those are some of the kinds of attitudes that adults may have. But children, because they're so um close to spirit, I say, to the
Mhm.
spiritual world, that they don't have these hangups about things, and their dreams are usually simpler as well,
Okay.
because their experience of the world is less than an adult, so their perspective on things will reflect that, I think, in their dreams.
I think so too. Can you tell me how you were talking a little bit about mental health before?
Mhm.
How do dreams help someone with mental health issues?
Well, I'll give you a good example. There was a sleep study done at the University of Chicago, if I remember correctly. And during the sleep study, it was composed of a control group of women who were happily married and not thinking of divorce. And the other two groups were women, they were women who went through messy divorces, bad divorces, and divided into two groups: women who dreamed and women who did not. And when the women who were dreaming were woken up during the sleep study and asked what they were dreaming about, they would say things like, they were dreaming about their ex or dreaming about some aspect of their relationship. And those women recovered more completely and more quickly than the women who did not dream or said they couldn't remember their dreams. So there is a real psychological outworking, if you will,
Right.
of a trauma. I mean, with people suffering with post traumatic stress disorder, particularly, I think, the first thing that comes to mind to me is like, soldiers or people caught up in war, if civilians caught up in war. And they can't, the dreams are trying to help them to process these nightmares, are trying to help them to process the trauma. But if they don't get assistance to be able to work through the trauma, what happens is it kind of has a snowball effect. They've become more traumatized, if you will, because of the trauma, because the original wound hasn't been closed. So it's kind of like it covers over, and you keep picking at the scab, so to speak, and re-wounding will occur. So like I said, it just one night can disturb, our normal processes of behavior. Stockbrokers, they found that particularly with men, if they were sleep deprived, they would make bad decisions, risky decisions. And having worked in the field of banking, I get some of the things that people get up to, when they're overtired and fantasizing about, Mai Tais on the a beach in the Bahamas. But for you know, it has it has a real and tangible knock-on effect when we're going off half-cocked, really. And
Right.
that's what it is.
Huh. It makes so much sense that it seems so obvious when you outline it like that. I think that you would resolve issues in your head, and that if you weren't resolving those issues, you would have other issues.
Mhm. Yeah, because it
So,
just they kind of like I said, that snowball effect. It's like you start with
mhm.
one thing, which leads to another, which leads to another, and it can become a real vicious cycle, because things are not being addressed. You just keep rolling on, and in the hope that if you ignore it, it'll just go away. And no, it does not go away.
Right. I'm going to start writing down my dreams when I wake up. This is just so incredibly interesting. So, what would you say to someone who's struggling and having dreams that they can't interpret for themselves? What can they do? How can they reach out to you?
Well, I'm on pretty much everywhere on social media as the Dream Decipherer, so you can pretty much find me. But I have, they can go through mm, I have I offer a free consultation, initial consultation, if somebody needs help with a specific dream, or would like some effective and natural tips, but to sleep better.
Ah,
Because if you're not sleeping well, you're not dreaming well either.
okay.
Or and it's kind of one follows the other. You may be having nightmares that are causing insomnia, or it may be the insomnia that's provoking the nightmares. So I mean, there's the cause and effect can go either way. So they can contact me and book as I say, a free consultation to get specific help with a specific dream. If people are interested in learning more about working with their dreams, I do offer my 6-week signature course, Dream Your Life, Live Your Dream, where people actually learn how to work with their dreams and how to get the logical right left brain and the more spiritual and energetically minded and visually minded right brain to work in tandem with each other. So when a dream comes up, the left brain doesn't say, "What? What did?" and dismiss it immediately as being just nonsensical stuff.
Right.
But to integrate the two halves of the brain, and women neurologically are actually better geared to that because the corpus callosum, that the material that connects the two hemispheres of the brain, like a net, is actually more dense in women than in men. And my thing is, I think it's because we raise children. I mean, we bear and raise children. So, when that cry means, oh, they need to be changed, or that cry means
Mhm.
they're in pain. Or, when they're starting to babble that, oh, you mean you want that. Okay. So I think that tying emotion and logic is stronger in women because of that. That's my take on it anyway. But certainly neurologically, we have a lot more connections between the two halves of the brain. Why that is
Right.
and how that works, I leave that to the scientists, but I have my own theories.
I would like to see what happens in the next 50 years with this kind of research. It's got to be fascinating.
Well, there's some amazing stuff, Amy, that's coming out at the moment where they're actually developing machinery. I think it's MIT and other places where they're actually developing in lab the means to be able to enter into dreams and kind of interact with them. We're using machineries. So it's coming to the point where, we'll all be able to lucid dream and stuff, but it also throws up some ethical things. Do you really want people messing in your mind, in your dreams, being able to manipulate them and manipulate how you see yourself and see the world?
Oh, a little scary. Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit. But I mean, there's all kinds of research, but particularly in the field of neuroscience, and what that means for me is that, instead of people thinking that this is all just this woo-woo stuff, that there's
Mm.
some actual hard science behind it, which is fine. But that's not how I operate in the world. But I mean, but I've had to do my own to do investigations, to work with, doing basic research myself to be able to help my clients better.
Right. Well, it definitely backs up what you've been doing and says, hey, you're on the right track.
It's like,
So,
well, I laugh because we've been working with dreams for thousands of years. I mean, even the ancient Babylonians had, tablets with the meanings of dreams written in on tablet. So
mm,
humans have been fascinated by dreams for, since the beginning of time. I mean, the cave paintings in France and other places, they think some of those, or in Australia, they think some of those paintings were depicting things they were happening in what the Aborigine people call dream time. So yeah, the time before time, and all time is now. So I mean, a very different perspective as to what is real and what is part of a dream. And I think it was Carl Jung who said something like, he dreamt of a Buddha who was dreaming of him. And he's like, "Oh, is that?" I mean, this was not long before he passed away. And he said, "Oh, is that person dreaming me and my life?" I mean, think about that. It's like,
yeah.
it's like, so when that person stops dreaming, is that me done? Is that the end of me?
Oh,
I mean, and in a broader sense. So, it's our soul dreaming and creating this person that calls herself Amy or calls herself Sheila. And then when that person is done with the dream, that, we move on to another plane of existence. Who knows?
right. I could listen to you all day. Do you ever give seminars or webinars or things like that?
I have done. I haven't been doing lately, but yes, I do. I have given lectures. In fact, a few years ago, I did a lecture for Valentine's Day, and it's like, what does those dreams about your ex really mean? That generated a lot of discussion, I have to
Oh,
admit.
I bet. I bet. Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all this with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. I mean, it's not working with dreams is not just a vocation. It's not just a means of making a living. It is my joy. And it's something that when I see people open up to the possibilities presented to them by a dream and seeing a larger version of themselves, it's just wonderful. It gives me such a good feeling.
Oh, I bet that's got to be fulfilling, and it's such. Sounds like a calling for you.
It is. It is.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much again. And is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Yeah, two little tips to be help remember dreams better. One, because our emotions are likened to water, having a glass of water, perhaps but an hour or so before going to bed, can help stimulate the dreaming process. The other thing is really, really low tech. Keep nothing electronic, just a little pad and a pen and piece of paper, and jot down bullet points when you have a dream. So you don't have to write War and Peace, but just little bullet points, and it'll look like a 5-year-old wrote it in the middle of the night, but it's okay because what will happen is when you fully awake in the morning, you'll those little bullet points will help jog your memory so that you retain more of the dream.
I love that. That's great. Thank you so much, Sheila.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I hope you have a great weekend.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Chatting with Sheila was an absolute eye opener. Her take on dreams and how they affect our lives was fascinating. If you're curious to dive deeper into your own dreams, Sheila's offering some awesome free consultations. and she has a 6-week course that you don't want to miss out on. You can find all the details at crackyourdreamcode.com. Trust me, it's worth checking out. And hey, if you enjoyed hanging out with us today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for Advancing with Amy, Mental Health Warrior, and Neurospicy Mama. Share this episode with your friends and leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. Your support really means a lot and helps us keep bringing amazing guests like Sheila to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Keep dreaming, stay awesome, and keep advancing, warriors.